This thing actually has a real made-for-TV feel to it. It wasn't made for me.
Disappointment.
A totally new kind of Australian film. Starstruck, an Australian musical comedy.
This is Kyle and Dave versus the Machine, our video edition. I don't know why I do this.
You put magical sound effects as you wave your hands.
Like a harp. This week we're talking about the new wave musical from Australia.
Starstruck. The prequel to Moonstruck. It's not.
That'd have been something. Kyle, what is Starstruck?
Starstruck is a new wave musical made in Australia about a young woman who is obsessed with becoming famous. She wants to be the next big pop star, so her brother tries to get her jobs, and eventually, spoiler alert, she succeeds. Please put a tumbleweed going across. Do you want me to tell you what I thought about it, Dave? Disappointment. It's not a total travesty. I think that there are some elements that work really well. I actually do think some of the campy acting choices are good.
It's that little something extra.
I enjoyed some of the comedy sequences here. I even loved the first two songs in this movie. But by the end of it, what I became kind of frustrated by was it was hard for me not to start to compare this with other, what I will deem weird, subtly queer musicals made as films. Phantom of the Paradise, Rocky Horror Picture Show, and Hedwig and the Angry Inch. And for me, it's not as weird as Phantom of the Paradise. It's not as culturally significant or relevant as Rocky Horror Picture Show is. And it's not as emotionally resonant for me as what Hedwig is. So by the end of it, it's like the story doesn't really do much for me. I think some of the songs are outright bad. So there's just not a lot of there. If any one of those three things were like really, really high, there would be something for me to grab onto. And unfortunately, it just wasn't. It's kind of a forgettable movie.
It is fascinating to see how many people seem to like this movie. But there's an asterisk there because on Rotten Tomatoes, there's 5,000 reviews. 5 critic reviews. That's a very small pool. Why do people prize things because they saw it when they were 10? It doesn't mean that it's good now. Maybe they will remember having a better life when they were children. I have no idea. Also, we're not Australian, so a lot of these sort of satirical, cultural things they talk about, I don't get, other than
we're not Australian, Dave, but I do like Going Under, if you know what I mean.
Disgusting. That's a better joke than you'll hear in any of this film. DM Kyle and have him read you the jokes that he thinks are funny. It is depressing.
Maybe I didn't hit them hard enough. Maybe I should just restate them for you now, Dave, and how high quality comedy they are.
Yikes. Kyle wants to say that at least the movie was swinging for the fences, trying to do experimental stuff. We talked actually about Pink Floyd's The Wall. Well, not that we liked it. There are better movies for swing for the fences. This thing actually has a real made-for-TV feel to it. It wasn't made for me.
My frustration is that it is made for me, and I still felt disappointed by it.
And it was directed by a female director who went on to most famously...
My favorite life... I'm so sorry. It's Little Women. It's the 90s version of Little Women. Gillian Armstrong. We should say the person's name.
Sorry. Gillian Armstrong. Apparently in Australia, very successful documentary filmmaker. She's got feature films there. I think there's a cultural divide because we don't really know much unless they really break out here, like Cate Blanchett or Sam Neill or Nicole Kidman. I mean, like these Hollywood
Geoffrey Rush
stars.
shows up for like 5 seconds in this movie.
I yelled out when I was watching this, "Oh, that's Geoffrey Rush." And then Helen's like, "Who's Geoffrey Rush?"
Shine.
Yeah, that's what I said, Shine. And she's like, "What was that?"
Quills? I like that we're going to those two films before we talk about Pirates.
I should have said Pirates of the Caribbean.
I really want there to be someone, like there's been rock musicals, obviously, right? There's even been punk rock musicals that have been on Broadway. I want someone to do a new wave musical, and maybe someone can tell me that there has been. The idea is now in my head, and I need someone to do it because it just sounds like a great idea that I would love. Make a new wave musical for me.
New wave is an abstract term, so I think both Kyle and I were expecting sort of this Britpop new wave. In Excess offered to make the music for this movie. That would have been something.
Inks.
Right?
Who's Inks?
Unfortunately, I didn't really enjoy the music at all. If you're in Canada, you can watch it for free on Tubi or Mubi. Tubi. You know what's good about Tubi? The commercials are so short.
Yeah,
it's almost worth it. What are we watching next week?
We see Night Shift. Michael Keaton's first movie. Ron Howard's second, I want to say.
And we are 16 weeks into 1982. Getting a feel for it.
Some would say 5 months.
What?
That math did not make sense. 1, 2, 3.